Are you looking forward to Earth Week? Yes, I love the Earth. I also love the Earth. Yes, I saw you drew this picture of the Earth. Very nice. Why, thank you. Yes, I colored it. Oh, how good. How good, Dave. So nice of you guys to appreciate the Earth the way you do, even as just stuffed animals. Are you ready for the reading today? Yes! Yes, so ready. Chapter 42, Foreboding. Her father pulled the car into the driveway and cut the engine. The windshield wipers let out a surprised squeak and then froze in mid-wave. The rain slowed to a trickle. The sun came out from behind a cloud and then disappeared again, and the smell of ketchup, melded with butterscotch, rose with a gentle persistence from the seats of the car. Ew. Here we are, said her father. Yep, said Flora. Here we are. 412 Belgrade Avenue. It was the house that Flora had lived in for the whole of her life. But something was different about it. Something had changed. What was it? Ulysses crawled up onto her shoulder. She put her hand on him. The house looked sneaky somehow, almost as if it were up to no good. Foreboding. That was the word that popped into Flora's head. The house seemed full of foreboding. Do inanimate objects, couches, chairs, spatulas, etc., absorb the energy of the criminals, the wrongdoers among whom they live? The criminal element had queried in a recent issue. It is, of course, entirely unscientific to assume such a thing, but still we are forced to admit that in this woeful world there exist objects with almost palpable energy of menace, spatulas that seem cursed, couches that contain literal and metaphorical stains of the past, houses that seem to perpetually groan and moan for the sins contained in their environs. Can we explain this? No. Do we understand this? We do not. Do we know that criminals exist? We do. We are also terribly and unfortunately certain that the criminal element will be forever among us. And the arch nemesis, thought Flora, the arch nemesis will be forever among us too. Ulysses' arch nemesis is in that house right now. Do you remember the darkness of 10,000 hands? Flora said to her father. Yep, said her father. He wields 10,000 hands of anger, greed, and revenge. He is the sworn enemy of Incandesto. He's Incandesto's arch nemesis, said Flora. Right, said her father, and I'll tell you what. The darkness of 10,000 hands better stay away from our squirrel. He honked the horn. Home the warrior, he shouted. Home the cat-conquering superhero squirrel. That is so funny now. Ulysses puffed out his chest. Let's go, said Flora. We have to do it. We have to face the arch nemesis. Right, said her father, bravely forward, and he honked the horn again. Chapter 43, Treacle. They walked into the house, and the little shepherdess was waiting for them. She was standing there where she always stood, the lamb at her feet, the tiny globe above her head, and a look on her face that said, I know something you don't know. Flora's father took off his hat and bowed to the lamp. George Buckman, he said, how do you do? Hello? Flora shouted into the silence of the house. From the kitchen came the sound of laughter. Mom? Said Flora. No one answered. Flora's sense of foreboding deepened, expanded. And then her mother spoke. She said, That's absolutely right, William. William? William? There was only one William that Flora knew. What would he be doing in the kitchen with the known arch nemesis? And then came the familiar rattle of the typewriter keys being struck, the thwack of the carriage return being hit. Ulysses' grip on her shoulder tightened. He let out a small chirrup of excitement. Oh, he's excited to see William. Her mother laughed again. The laughter was followed by the truly terrifying words, Thank you so much, William. Shh, said Flora to her father, who was standing listening, his hat in his hands and a goofy smile on his face. There was a small, round drop of blood in his ear bandage. It looked oddly festive. You stay here, Flora said to him. Ulysses and I will go check this out. Right, said her father. You bet, I'll stay here. He put his hat on his head. He nodded. Flora, superhero on her shoulder, walked quietly, stealthily through the living room and into the dining room and stood before the closed kitchen door. She held herself very still. She made herself into a giant ear. She was getting extremely good at making herself into a giant ear. Flora listened, and she could feel Ulysses, his body tense and expectant, listening too. Her mother spoke. She said, Yes, it will go like this. Federico, I have dreamed of you for eons. No, said another voice, a high, thin, and extremely annoying voice. I've dreamed of you for all eternity. Oh, said Flora's mother, for all eternity, that's good, more poetic. Ulysses shifted his position on Flora's shoulder. He nodded. Yes, exactly, said William Spiver. More poetic. Eon sounds too geological. There's nothing romantic about geology, I assure you. Oh, I think we would disagree. I think we find rocks very interesting in our classroom. I don't know, romantic, but, I mean, there's a beauty to rocks, right? Anyway, this is just my thoughts. Okay, anyway. Okay, said Flora's mother. Right, what's next, William? Actually, said William Spiver, if you don't mind, I would prefer to be called William Spiver. Of course, said Flora's mother. I'm sorry, what's next, William Spiver? Let me see, said William Spiver. I suppose Federico would say, And I have dreamed of you, Angelique, my darling. I must tell you that they were dreams so vivid and beautiful that I am loath to wake to reality. Ooh, that's good. Hold on a sec. Oh my gosh, I think William Spiver is in the kitchen writing a romance novel with Flora's mom. That is so funny. The typewriter keys came to clacking life. The carriage return dinged. Do you think that's a good? Flora whispered to Ulysses. Do you think that's good writing? Ulysses shook his head. His whiskers brushed against her cheek. I don't think so either, she said. Actually, she thought it was terrible. It was sickly sweet nonsense. There was a word for that. What was it? Treacle. That's what it was. So big word. Having located the correct word, Flora felt a sudden need to say the word aloud, and so she did. She pushed open the kitchen door and stepped forward. Treacle! She shouted. Flora? Said her mother. Treacle, said William Spiver. Yes. She was pleased with that one simple word. She'd answer two very important questions. Yes, she was Flora, and yes, it was treacle. So we are going to do 3 questions today about the reading. The first question was this part of the reading that I loved, the part where it's talking about how some objects seem menacing. Like some objects in your house you might think just are evil spirited. She was saying some spatulas seem just evil. Let me think if I have any objects in my house that are evil. Let me brainstorm. My trash can is kind of evil. I don't know. It's just big and plastic, and it's got a menacing, just big trash can. It smells a lot too, so that's probably another reason I don't like it. In my room, I had these fans for a while that I didn't like, but I needed them, and I put googly eyes on them, and now they're a lot less menacing. Now they're a lot more friendly seeming now that they have googly eyes. Okay, second question is, why do you think William Spiver is writing a romance novel with Flora's mom? Why is that happening? That's so random. Okay, so think about why. Why would he want to hang out with Flora's mom? Why would he be writing this romance novel with her? Okay, and then your third question is, so treacle, Flora is overhearing, she's being the listening ear. She's overhearing their conversation, and she's like, oh my gosh, this writing is so bad. And then she looks at Ulysses, and she's like, this isn't good, is it? He's like, no. And she thinks it's treacle, which treacle means too gushy, too cute and too sentimental. So she used a big word, treacle, because It's like she's just saying that it's just too silly, too silly writing. So why does she think that the writing isn't good? Why does she think that it's treacle, that it's too silly, and gushy and lovey-dovey, too lovey-dovey? Why does she think that writing isn't good?